Hello, welcome to Japan. In this video I'm going to show you all the gear and equipment I used for the Japanese Odyssey. I've already done a separate bike check video for this brand new Mason definition bike that I've been riding. So in this video I'm going to run through what I've got in my bags, what worked for me, what maybe didn't and what I changed, and hopefully give you a few tips on what you can use for this kind of trip. So I'm going to start with the frame bag. And this is the bag I used sort of daily with my layers and things like that on, so it's kind of on the bike stuff. I also ended up keeping tent poles in there and pegs. I'll talk more about the tent and accommodation later, but I find splitting the fabric of the tent and the poles down separately allows you to pack a bit more efficient. This is the clothing and the layers I had. I'll start with what I'm wearing now. So it's the all-road pocket bib shorts from Albion and the all-road cycling jersey, and I've also got just their mesh base layer underneath. And that was kind of like the foundations of my layering. And then in here, the next layer, which I used a lot, this is the new, the updated version of the all-road long sleeve jersey. Plenty of pockets on there, a nice kind of Roubaix fabric. And I ended up wearing this over, what I'm wearing now quite a lot. It was quite cold. It's end of October, early November here in Japan. In the mountains it can be quite cold. Obviously I'm at the coast now, it's lovely blue skies, probably about 15 degrees. But yeah, in the afternoons it heated up, but in the mornings it could be very cold, just over freezing, like 2 or 3 degrees, so that got a lot of use. Other things in here, I've got one of the Albion folding backpacks. Very useful to take into like shops to stock up, saves using a carrier bag, and then you can carry stuff out with you, and if you buy too much stuff you can just put it on your back for a while. Also a set of leg warmers. These are DHB Air on Lab ones. They don't make them anymore, but I've got very long, very skinny legs, and these are pretty much the best fitting leg warmers I've found, so I'm hoping I can make these last a long time. If anyone's got a pair, by the way, in size large and they don't want them anymore, send them over to me, because I can't find anything that fits that well. I've also got a pair of Albion winter socks. As I said, it was quite chilly, so I packed some winter socks. I used them a few times. What I do is I try and keep them nice and dry, put them on in the evening before I got in my sleeping bag, and then for the morning, for the first few hours, I'd have warm feet, and then I'd swap them out once it heated up. I've also got some arm warmers. Again, long skinny arms. Find it difficult to find things that fit. These are POC arm warmers, and they work quite well for me. So yeah, again, lived in them quite a lot. I've also got some toe covers. These are quite old, I've had them a number of years. They're Gore ones, but they're windstopper fabric. And these just took the chill off your toes. I wore them if it rained. Really lightweight, and it's one of those things, it's kind of a lot of benefit for not much sort of space taken up in your bags. So I would definitely recommend those. Got a Hunt cycling cap. I didn't actually end up using this. I'm not a big fan of caps, but when it's really raining or really cold, they are pretty good. But as it didn't rain that much, I didn't end up using it. I've also got these, again, didn't end up using them. They're rain mitts, OMM ones. They're not the best on the bike, but they're just good to shove over the winter gloves, keep everything dry in the worst of conditions, but they do restrict your hand movements a bit. I'm trying to find some with split fingers, but at the moment I can't find any, so yeah, keep an eye out for future bike checks in case I do manage to find a brand that will do them. Other items in here, I've got these warm winter gloves. These got a lot of use. They're DHB Air on Lab ones, and they've got this polartec fabric on there, which is really good at trapping heat in there. Again, not too bulky for winter gloves. They're not so good if it rains, but that's why I've got the over gloves, but I've used these a lot, and yeah, I really do rate them. I've also got a Merino neck warmer from Albion. Again, this got a hell of a lot of use pretty much every single morning, sometimes the entire day. Pulled it up over my face and neck. I've got quite a long neck, so there's a lot of blood vessels and stuff in there, so it's really important to keep it warm to sort of stop getting cold on these long events. Also got a headband. I'm kind of more of a headband guy than a cap guy, so I wore this in the mornings and evenings when it was cold, and I find it keeps enough heat in your head, but doesn't doesn't overheat you. Other items in here, I've got a wall charger, WSB. It's the same in Japan. They use the same sockets as in the USA. It's like the double prong type, so obviously use that to recharge my devices. I'm not running a dyno here, so I just had to manage my batteries carefully, but it wasn't an issue. I never ran out of any power. There's a little bag here that's just various cables, which I need to charge the various gadgets with me. Pack of tissues for wiping stuff. I didn't have to use them. Again, Japan has a vast network of public toilets, and they're all very good, and they have very unique ways of cleaning you, and the seats are normally very heated. And one of the highlights of my trip every morning when it was nice and cold was sitting on a nice warm public toilet with a heated seat. So yeah, I think Japanese toilets should be mandatory in all countries. So these are just the tent pegs for my Nemo. It's a Nemo Hornet one-person tent, so that's tent pegs. And then the poles, obviously I've got quite a long frame bag, so the poles fit in there quite nicely. That's the benefit of being tall and running a large frame. So yeah, I pack all those separately, and then I can really squash down the outer, which I'll show you in a second. And then I've got a spare inner tube, and I also just bound it up with a roll strap. You never know when you might need a roll strap. Very useful, you know, if you burst a bag or a bracket breaks or something like that and you need to really bind something up tight. Very useful to have. So I just stored it nicely by wrapping it around my inner tube and keeping that wrapped up as well. And that's everything in the main compartment of the frame bag. I also carried an Albion ultralight gilet. Now I tended to keep this in my back pocket, and I must have put it on 10 or 15 times a day, putting it on for going down to scents or when it got colder. So yeah, really invaluable, good just to help sort of moderate the heat, and having it in the back pocket is just nice and easy to get to. Now there is a small pocket on the other side of my frame bag, and in there I just had passport and some cash, and this is where I kept my power bank. So it's a 100,000 milliamp power bank, plenty for what I needed. I just tried to top it up when I stayed in a hotel, so I started it with 100% as much as possible, and then I use this to charge the Wahoo. I top my phone up when needed, and there's also a cable in here as a phone cable, and also the cable to charge the Wahoo. Now onto the top tube pack. Now this is where I kept items I need to reach sort of on a daily basis. So I've got my trusty little film camera in there, so there'll be some nice shots coming out of this hopefully. That was easy to reach. There's some spare dyno plugs, actually ended up using a couple, so yeah, glad I carried the spares, and the vulcanizing glue. Really important to carry the vulcanizing glue, because basically it will melt the dart from the dyno plug into the tire. So if you put it on there, it's the same stuff that you use in getting a puncture repair kit. So yeah, basically it does a much better job, and the plug is less likely to pull out. Also got a tire lever in there. I've got my dyno plug, again used a couple of times, very glad I brought it with me. Should be an essential for anyone with tubeless tires. Got a small Lazine multi-tool. And what else have we got in here? Yes, my light. So it's an exposure joystick, so this is the helmet light. Use it quite a lot. I've got the exposure Toro on the bars and this on my helmet, so I tend to use this setting up tents, things like that. And also on technical descents, I'll run this in conjunction with the main bar light, just to give me a bit more kind of visibility on corners. I've also got the SRAM Axis charger and a spare battery. Now batteries, I never had an issue. I didn't have to use a spare battery, but I did try and keep things charged up as much as I could. And again, I think if you're careful with management, there's not a problem using the Axis. A small tub of spare bolts, patches, glue, things like that, tiny little knickknacks which you may or may not need during the event. Sunscreen, I just decant it into a separate bottle, and then I've got some hand sanitizer for cleaning hands. Hygiene very important in these things, and a bottle of lube, squirt lube. Been using it for a while. The chain's still relatively clean considering I've done 1,600 miles, and you get these little sample tubes, and basically I've got a big one at home and I top it up before each event. Sometimes I take 2 of them, but for this one was more than enough. Onto the rear pack. Now it's a prototype from the Tailfin R&D division. As I mentioned in my bike check video, if you've not seen that, go and check it out. I can't tell you too much about it. I'm trying out a few different things. It may or may not reach production, but hopefully there'll be some influence in future products. So in here is my sleeping stuff. So I've got my trusty PhD custom sleeping bag in a dry bag. It's done a lot of events with me. I've got a Albion rain jacket. Now this is the Pertex shield jacket, really good. I did manage to crash in it in an event earlier in this year, and Albion have done a cracking job of repairing it for me, and it's still waterproof. And I wore that quite a lot to keep the wind off, and the mornings it was really misty or slightly drizzly, obviously it kept me dry. Also got the Albion Zoa rain pants, really important again to keep me warm. I didn't have to use them in the rain that much, but what I did do when it was dark, the temperature dropped really quickly, and if I was on top of a mountain and had to descend for sort of half hour, 45 minutes, I just chucked them over the top just to retain heat. This is my sleeping pad, so it's a Thermarest Neo Air. I've actually had this since 2013, my first ever trip. 10 years old, relatively expensive, but if you look after stuff, you can keep on using it. So yeah, 10 years worth of very kind of good service from that, and it's still going strong. And then I've got my tent. So this is a small one-man tent. It's from Nemo. It's the Hornet one person. It's not too bad. To be honest, coming into this event, I wasn't sure what to make of it. I don't know anything about Japan. I knew there would probably be some hotel options. I also knew that it's a time of year when the weather can be changeable. So I thought I'd take a tent just to make sure I had somewhere warm to stay every night. I was planning on sleeping quite a lot, so yeah, it made sense to carry a tent. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't take exactly that same setup again. What I'd do is I'd bring a nice warm winter sleeping bag, I'd bring my roll mat, and I'd probably just bring a ground sheet, because there were so many places where you could just get under shelter. Like, it was never a problem getting out the rain or out the wind. And I ended up setting up my tent under shelter quite a lot as well, because it's so humid here that every morning it was absolutely soaking, and then you have a wet tent to deal with, which is just a faff you don't need. So I ended up setting my tent up inside like shelters, which then makes the whole tent thing a bit pointless. So I think I would have just brought a really warm sleeping bag, and probably a warmer down jacket. I'll get onto the down jacket in a second, and then yeah, the ground sheet just to stop moisture coming up. That is my sleeping setup carried in my tailfin aero pack. Now onto the front pack, and in here, as I said, I was treating this event more as a fast tour rather than a race. So I've got some casual clothes. Along with my tent, I wanted to be able to get in my tent every night, taking my cycling gear off, put some warmer clothes on, and just have a nice comfortable experience. So this was the casual clothes and my down jacket. So my down jacket is from Albion. It's the lightweight Zoa insulated jacket. Again, I probably would have packed the standard Zoa, which has got a hood on it. I do love that jacket, and it is super warm. This wasn't exactly cold, but sleeping at night sometimes I did wish I had a slight bit more of insulation. But still an excellent jacket. You can ride in it, and it's not down, so it can get a bit wet and get a bit sweaty, and it's not going to be a problem. As well as that, I had a dry bag with my casual clothes in there. So I'll just open it up and show you what I took with me. So in this dry bag, I had my casual clothes, and as you can see, I roll them all together so they fit nice and compact. And here I had some casual trousers. Like I said, I was taking this, well, I say nice and easy, in a more relaxed manner. So I had an Albion Merino t-shirt, I had some lightweight trousers, I had an extra pair of socks, a pair of pants, and also a Merino long sleeve t-shirt. And I used the long sleeve t-shirt / base layer. I slept in that along with the boxers, just to not be in my cycling kit all the time. And as it was, there was a luggage sort of service to take our bike bags and spare clothing from the start to the finish. And I've been finished a couple of days now, and it's still not arrived. So I was actually pretty grateful that I had the lightweight trousers and a t-shirt, so I didn't have to just walk around in cycling kit for the next couple of days. And so on to the last couple of items. Helmet, I was running this excellent POC Arm Eternal helmet. Essentially, it's got a little solar panel in the top and a nice little flashing red light on the back, so it never ran out of battery and it's always on. Gives you peace of mind. You've always got some visibility from behind. Also had some POC. These are the Aspire sunglasses. I used quite a light lens, but it's got a bit of mirroring on there. Obviously it's autumn here, so it gets dark quite early, can be a bit gloomy, but also there is some sunshine, and I found that to be a good balance. And then also shoes. Generally speaking, I wouldn't run mountain bike shoes on a road bike, but because this was the only pair of shoes I have for the 10 days trip, I wanted to be able to walk around, so I'm running just the Shimano RX7 mountain bike shoes, which I really get on with. You know, shoes and things like that are personal choices, but they work very well for me. So there we have it. That is the equipment and gear I used for the Japanese Odyssey. Essentially, it's a super lightweight touring setup. So yeah, there's everything you need for a few weeks: clothing, shelter, all of that stuff, and you can go a long way with not much stuff. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out the bike check video. Give us a like and subscribe if you like this kind of stuff, and I'll see you again soon for some more videos.